during their busiest time of year. Switch now and we'll pay off your phone up to $1,000. You keep your phone and your number. Plus, get $200 in Facebook ads on us, so you can reach more customers and finish this year strong. Visit your T-Mobile store and make the switch today. Up to $1,000 in a virtual prepaid card for eligible device pay. Allow 15 days. Qualifying credit service, port-in and timely redemption required. No don't ads via virtual prepaid card when you port in a line with 2 plus more lines over 3 existing lines.
After all, both are handcrafted, made with an appreciation for every detail. One with the finest materials, the other with the freshest ingredients. And seeing either one brings a smile to your face. Muscle cars and double doubles are all American classics, and both are gone in seconds.
From the true story of the musical Chicago to the fascinating life of author Alexander Dumas.
Dumas is a guy who invented travel writing. He fought in revolutions. He built and lost a palace. I mean, he cooked an elephant.
Listen to the Next Great Podcast finalists on the iHeart-Radio app or wherever you get your podcasts. Then visit nextgreatpodcast.com to vote for your favorite to help us find the winner.
Oh, so let us tell you something you do want to hear. No one is funnier than you. People laugh just thinking about the things you've said. I'm laughing at one of them right now. Coworkers repeat your jokes at the office, but they're never as good as when you tell them, and shame on them for trying. There. Don't you feel better? You'll also feel better knowing you could save when you bundle home and auto with Progressive. Although I'm sure you'd have a funnier way to say that. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Bundle discount unavailable in all states or situations.
Valley Kia will pay off your trade, no matter what you owe, and we'll even buy your car for cash today without you buying one from us. That's right. Valley Kia will buy your car, truck, or SUV today without you even buying one from us. Then feast your eyes on a brand new Kia with zero money down and no payments for up to 6 months. That's a brand new Kia with zero money down and no payments until spring 2022. So what are you waiting for? It's time to capitalize on your trade at Valley Kia of Modesto. Get pre-approved without hurting your credit at valleykiaofmodesto.com. With approved credit through KMF, deferred payments by dealer plus tax tag and license. Negative equity may be refinanced. Expires 12/5/2021.
With Vicks Vapor Bath or Vicks Vapor Shower. And let those soothing Vicks Vapors help you relax. Enjoy a Vicks Vapor moment wherever you choose. Look for Vicks Vapor Bath and Vicks Vapor Shower in a store near you.
From T-Mobile.
Your dad told me you switched.
It was a no-brainer. With T-Mobile, now I get unlimited talk, text, and data.
You get all that on your allowance.
I really feel like I'm adulting with T-Mobile. Seriously, you and Dad should think about switching.
We might just have to.
And the money you save could go towards my allowance, right?
Nice try.
From nonstop streaming to taxes and fees included, T-Mobile's customer benefits let you do a whole lot more than talk. Why compromise? Get value and coverage at T-Mobile, your hometown network. Visit your local T-Mobile store to switch.
Emerge Tremfyant. Tremfyant can help reduce joint symptoms at 24 weeks. Some patients reported less fatigue as assessed by survey 1 week prior. Individual results may vary.
Tremfya is taken by injection at weeks 0 and 4, and then every 8 weeks. Following the 2 starter doses, that's 6 doses a year. By prescription only, serious allergic reactions may occur. Tremfya may increase your risk of infections and lower your ability to fight them. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms of infection, including fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough. Tell your doctor if you had a vaccine or plan to.
Tremfya. Emerge Tremfyant. To learn more, call 1-877-578-3527 or visit Tremfya.com and talk to your doctor about Tremfya. See our ad in Health Magazine.
But have you shopped for the right lender? The fact is, customers who ditch their existing lender for Cake Mortgage save an average of $4,500. That's right, $4,500 that you can use to furnish your home and cover your moving expenses. Not only that, we can often close your loan in as little as 14 days. So whether you're on the hunt for the right mortgage lender or already deep in the loan process, don't make a decision until you call Cake. We're so confident we can beat your current offer that we'll pay you $1,000 for your time, even if we can't give you the best deal. It pays to call Cake. Get started now. Call 877-818-2253 for the lowest rates, lower costs, and a stress-free experience. Again, that's 877-818-CAKE or visit CakeHome.com to get started. It's a piece of cake.
Let's get ready to rumble? Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C Sports. This is Charlton with Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe. Of course, the people who've been in the universe. It's all fair in Delaware. What a beautiful November the 30th, 2021. Rondo Deportes Bienvenido. In Divinity Vice, I'm trying to learn different languages. Sometimes my hook on phonics doesn't work, but I'm still trying to do my best so I can bring you different ways of saying welcome to the show. It's all fair level war. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers. Home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. You go by and test drive yours. Just tell them Charlton of Big C Sports Center is all fair and level war. You can follow Big C Sports all around the world on 18 podcast applications. Give that some praise. I said 18 podcast applications. Give that some praise. You can follow Big C Sports, Google, Alexa, Spotify, Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, iHeart-Radio Podcast, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser. I feel like I just run a marathon. You gotta catch my breath. Give me some praise while I catch my breath. Give me some praise while I catch my breath. If that makes sense to you, I really gotta catch my breath. You can also follow Big C Sports as I catch my breath on Geo Savon Podcast out of London, England, Podtail Podcast, YouTube Podcast, Hubhopper, Stitcher Podcast, Radio Online, Repod Podcast, Luminary Podcast. Also, it has coming to Facebook, which I guess is going to be changed to Meta Podcast. You can also follow Big C Sports on TV on 4 TV platforms: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. Get that some praise. Takes a lot of hard work getting into that, especially the people that you get inside of their TV. Oh man, it's all fair and level war. I love paying homage to my family legacy. On my mother's side, my great-grandmother called her Mamo, kept the whole family together through thick and thin. My great-grandfather, Pop, also did a lot keeping the family together. Well known as saying, boy, get out of that barn, and making the best moonshine in the history of the universe. Really appreciate that. And then my grandmother called her Medea. She was actually just a wonderful person, hardworking business person. A seer, still does things that help me to this day. My beautiful mother helped start a Head Start program in Northern California and helped us win the Little League Championship of the universe. Give that some praise. Really do appreciate the praise. Always saying rise and shine no matter what's going on in life. Make sure you rise and shine. On my father's side, my grandfather, Albert Curry, he was a pastor, had 2 churches that he founded in Oakland, California. Also built the 3rd one in Central California. And then my grandmother, Alberta Curry, helped him with the service stations, also making sure that the churches did a great job at helping people. It's all fair and level war. My father, a retired Air Force fighter pilot and chief mechanic, making sure that planes can fly high so we can stay safe in this country. And my brother, Todd, with a bombastic voice, sound like lightning sometimes. Give that praise. Love giving him praise. My beautiful son, Malcolm, gives me NBA stats all over it. Knows a lot about what's going on in the world of the NBA. And my daughter, Daisy, would help me set up for sporting events when coaches came to the West Coast. Give them praise, as well as Big C with his wealth of knowledge. All fair and level work. Give that praise, as I say. Welcome to the show. Really do appreciate that. ESPY-nominated Big C Sports Podcast. No scripts, no 3-way teleprompters, no producer in my ear. I do the show with my higher self. I produce the show. I do all the topics. I broadcast the shows. I do most of the sound effects. I try to do them, of course, as put on by the platform, like it's time to come to school or people laughing. It's all fair and love and war. But I really love the thunderstorm that's put into the platform. And then also, I do the commercials, providing stats. I do the storytelling. I also do the play-by-play tonight. You'll hear it down in Phoenix. Steph Curry for 3. You'll hear that. All fair and love and war for Golden State. And Phoenix going to talk a little bit about that game coming up. The biggest game of the night in the NBA. We also have New York playing at Brooklyn. That's another big game on the East Coast. And then I upload the show to 18 podcast applications and 4 TV platforms that go all over the world. Really do appreciate that. Been doing that since starting Big C Sports back at Salem Media, September 12, 2015. And I think we're the only sports show in the universe that honors God by going to Genesis chapter 13, verse 15. It says, "For all the land that thou seest will I give you." And the book of James chapter 4, verse 2 said, "We have not because we ask not." So if you want something, just ask and then give the good looks and praise. You can also throw some ties at Big C Sports too. Don't just let the church ask for ties. Give some ties to Big C Sports Podcast, 800-772-8624. You know, I love this time of year, the holiday season. we have a Veterans Crisis Hotline, and we all have our freedom because we have the strongest military in the world, and sometimes veterans have issues, and when they come back, there's no one to help them. I know Dorothy said there's no place like home, but when you're a veteran, sometimes they feel abandoned. If you know anyone going through a crisis, you don't have to be a veteran, but it is a Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. Pick up the phone and call 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255, or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. Give our veterans some praise and give our first responders some praise. Whenever you pick up the phone and call 911, that's a first responder taking that call, making sure people get help. Really do appreciate that. I give it out on every show. Also, I want to say very happy to be affiliated with Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, God said, let there be light. Open your cell phones and say, play Big C Sports Podcast. You can see our apps pop up all over the world. Really do appreciate that. Also, very happy to be affiliated with Valley Homes Weekly TV on Dish TV, Direct TV, AT&T Uverse, and then they also cover some of the San Francisco Giants when baseball season is in. What does Scherzer get, like $43 million a year? My goodness, I don't think they won the World Series last year with the Dodgers, but he's going to bounce around wherever people give him that kind of money. I want $43 million. How about give Big C Sports $43 million? I got a fastball. I can throw a fastball too. Well, and I didn't win the World Series last year either. It's all fair level war. Really appreciate that. ValleyHomesWeekly.com. If you're interested in real estate in your neck of the woods to know what's going on, go to NationalRealEstatePost.com. That's NationalRealEstatePost.com. Also, MortgageDailyNews.com. That's MortgageDailyNews.com. Or you can go to, pick up the phone and call 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. And give real estate some praise. Give it praise all over the world. Really do appreciate that. There have been some extensions in the FHA limits. You can go to those websites and find out what's going on in the country. Also, I want to say the show is sponsored by Budweiser Zero. It has 0% alcohol, 100% on this game. Sports fans, when you're watching the big game, you want to eat it with a Big C burger. It's a tasty burger, and it comes with what's all those exotic meats. And you know it has exotic meats, but sometimes I don't know what I'm eating, but it sure tastes good. It sure does taste good. Really do appreciate that. And I heard it tastes better in your mouth than it does in your hands. You know, I want to just say, for all the people that are focused on the world of podcasting and broadcasting, there's a course that you can take, podcasting from A to Z. Really would like to introduce that to more young kids that are trying to get into the world of media. And you can learn how to turn your idea into a solid podcast concept and find the right recording equipment as far as editing software and how to distribute it and host your own podcast and create a podcast website, develop sustainable marketing strategy, produce a successful launch plan, and seek out podcast sponsors. And it's all part of what I'm doing with Big C Sports. I just love what we're doing with Big C Sports Podcast as it's growing. Really appreciate coming to even more podcast platforms in 2022. Give that some praise. Give that some praise. Nice weekend is going. All fair level war. Also, speaking of what's growing in this world, my goodness, there are so many people that are excited about football and basketball. Obviously, last night, Washington football team got a win over the Seattle Seahawks. Russell Houdini Wilson just hasn't been the same since coming back from his finger surgery. And the Washington football team got the win last night over the Seattle Seahawks. And there's rumor that this may be the last season for Russell Houdini Wilson for the Seattle Seahawks, which I think would be a shame. But if you look at the way people are changing teams and changing uniforms and coaches are doing it on the college level, why not on the NFL level? We know a lot of people are going to change. They're going to change where they play. They're going to change what teams they play for, and there's nothing we can do about it. It's part of this. It's part of the business. And I know a lot of people, they hate that. But look at Von Miller. He was with Denver. Now he's in Los Angeles. They still haven't won a game since they made a lot of changes. 17-15 last night for the Washington football team. They go to 5-6 on the season, and they're in the number 7 spot for the playoffs. Seattle probably, you can say, they're not going to make the playoffs this year. They're 3-8. I think their last win was at San Francisco, and they're playing the 49ers coming up. But when you think about what happened in the game last night, it was Ron Rivera's defense that put a lot of pressure on Russell Houdini Wilson, and Taylor Heineke, believe it or not, was a better quarterback for most of Monday night. Russell Wilson did not look much like himself in his first 2 games back from injury. I still think maybe they pushed him back too soon. And this is a guy who's like an MVP every year. His talent had over 40 touchdown passes last year. This year's a lot different. But Washington, when you think about it, they've beaten Tampa, then they went on the road and beat Carolina, and then come back home again and beat Seattle. Think about that. Ron Rivera's signature unit has come on in recent weeks at certain points, and they've been difficult for a team to handle. They shut down Tom Brady, they shut down Cam Newton, and now touchdown Russell Houdini Wilson. DK Metcalf completely erased from action. He couldn't get involved in the game. Landon Collins produced a key forced fumble, and a half dozen other guys getting in on the W. You know, they're a good team, not probably going to make much news in the playoffs if they get there, but I want to go back to touchdown Russell Houdini Wilson, just not himself. Doesn't matter how bad Seattle is as a whole. You have to have Russell Wilson under center, and you should have a chance. And they had a chance in the end zone, but he threw a bad pass. Also missed a lot of receivers last night. I think it still has to do with his finger. So I'm not going to make excuses for him. People love him when you win. People say, oh, it's his fault when they lose. But it's a fact that Pete Carroll, obviously he's up in age now. Are we seeing Pete Carroll coach his final season with the Seattle Seahawks? He's not getting any younger. A lot of these nouveau riche coaches are coming onto the scene, and organizations are trying to get younger. At 70 years old, do you really want to coach more football? But Washington goes to 5-6. Right now in the playoff picture, as the NFC's final wild card team, things are going to change. They just will. They also play a game. They're going to visit Las Vegas, where they take on the Raiders that are 6-5. And the Seahawks 3-8 will, I think they're 1 loss away from their first losing season under Pete Carroll in 10 years. And they host the 49ers on Sunday. That's their rival. And the Niners have won 3 straight. So it doesn't look like Seattle can slow that running game of San Francisco. So it's probably going to be another loss for the Seattle Seahawks. But no matter what you think about NFL football, when you look at Washington and when you look at Seattle, these are 2 teams that many people felt were just on the way out. But they've had a rebirth, a renaissance in Washington. So you got to give them a lot of credit, too, because they're trying to make their comeback, and everybody's looking forward to that, however that transpires for the Washington football team. And then the Seattle Seahawks, there's so many rumors about where Russell touchdown Houdini Wilson will end up. People say, oh, he should end up in Las Vegas. Not necessarily, because Derek Carr is a good quarterback, one of the top quarterbacks in the league. So why would they move him for Russell Houdini Wilson? It's going to cost a lot of money. In fact, a lot more money. And Derek Carr is doing fine. The Raiders got to work on their defense, not offense. And if he ends up going to New York, why would he go to New York? The Jets and the Giants are losing franchises. This is his first losing year in Seattle after a decade. I don't see him wanting to go to a losing franchise trying to help them rebuild. And what about New Orleans? Is there any talk about going to New Orleans? Or would there be talk of just staying where you are in Seattle? I think he's probably going to end up going somewhere because if Pete Carroll moves, they're going to bring in a new regime. Russell Wilson wanted more control of what happened offensively. He's gotten that, but he also had the broken finger, and that obviously is a reason that they've had to struggle. But that's all fair and love and war. But I wish them nothing but the best. The Seattle Seahawks and Washington football team wasn't the best Monday Night Football game, but it was a Monday Night Football game nonetheless. We're going to take what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. And when I come back talking about football, we're going to talk about some of the college coaching carousel. Have more and more coaches are telling these players when they go into a player's home, I'm Luke, I'm your father, Luke. I'm going to treat you like you're my son. I'm going to be there for you no matter what you go through thick and thin. And when someone offers more money, I'm going to leave. It's all fair and level war. Notre Dame is looking, well, they're looking for a coach. Everybody's looking for a coach. Everybody's playing musical chairs. We'll take what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. According to the former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back. All right, we're back from the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 18 podcast applications all over the universe and 4 TV applications. I'm going to tell you, there's been a lot of change in the world of college football lately. I'm going to do my own huddle, my own signal call on my audible, like Peyton Manning had. Omaha! I'm going to do the Big City Sports audible. 30, 35, 39, 40, 55, 5. Omaha! Okay, only certain people know what that means. Only certain people. The audible. 30, 35, 39, 40, 55, 5. Omaha! It's all fair. Here's an inside joke. It's on a need-to-know basis. But there's an audible where people are winning the lottery. Like the Mega Million numbers that I just read off to you. People are winning the lottery, and they're called coaches. There was so much complaint that went out with name, image, and likeness, and people were saying, oh my God, we can't allow the players to go out and make more money, because what if they decide that they can make more money and they start to leave us, then what are we going to do to get our money? If you go to a team or go to a university, you sign a contract to go to that team and stay with that team until they say we're going to cut you from the team and you lose your scholarship. And there was so much talk about, I can't believe the players are going to school to get a free education. They get the free education as long as they go out and get wind sprints and maybe CTE. Not a free education, guys. It's not at all. But there was so much vitriol labeled at athletes, primarily African-American athletes, because those are the guys that make up the Power 5 teams, about 70% of them. And now the coaches that were saying they would go into your household, tell you they're going to treat your kid like it's their own kid, and they're going to love them like their own child. They're going to make sure they help them get an education, and they're going to do whatever they can to get an education, because the education is more important than the money. And why would you go to college to make money when you can play football instead? Okay? So there are some players that stood up for name, image, and likeness. A lot of coaches, and especially a lot of media. Some media were like, oh my God, that's a bad thing. They should go to school and play football and sports. They signed a contract, they should take to that contract. Well, the coaches, they decided to do what the kids are doing. They decided to take their value and exercise their value to get more money. And you know what's happened? They've all been celebrated. They've all been cheered. People have been clapping hands and saying, oh my God, Lincoln Riley signed a $100 million contract at USC. Now, it's probably my fault, because I was saying that USC should offer Nick Saban a 5-year, $100 million deal. And they offered $100 million, but they offered it to the wrong guy. Lincoln Riley has never won a national championship. He's won some Big 12 titles at Oklahoma and made 3 college football playoff appearances, and they lost to LSU, Alabama, and also Georgia, even though they had a close loss to Georgia. But he's never won a national title, but he will have a chance at USC because they have more talent in the Los Angeles basin alone. You have players that come out of Southern California that are playing all over the SEC conference for some of the major programs, as well as kids that stay in California, go up to Oregon, go up to Utah. The quarterback from Ohio State, that good old boy is from Southern California. He just is. There's a lot look at what you have when you have the Bryce Young, who's going to win the Heisman Trophy. He's from Southern California. Played at Modern Day High School, Santa Ana, California. Those kids should be in California. Just an opinion, they can go where they want. But now look what's happening. Now that the coaches are celebrating each other, and it's all over the media. This guy's getting $100 million. Brian Kelly got $95 million to go coach LSU. I guess they didn't like Ed Ogeron. Virginia Tech hired Penn State defensive coordinator Brent Pry as his head coach. Brian Kelly left Notre Dame. They found out by social media. He didn't even have the guts to tell them. Play like a champion. He didn't even have the guts to tell them. They found out on social media. He left Notre Dame to go to LSU to help win a championship. And many people say the academics are less at LSU, and they have players that are more exploited down at LSU. But whatever it is, he's going to take his act on the road. And now he's going to tell the new kids at LSU when he recruits those people, hey, I'm going to treat you like you're my son. But didn't you have a son that went to Notre Dame, like 80 of them on your football team, coach? What happened to those sons? Well, he got more money, so he decided to get out of Dodge. That's what happened. And a lot of these coaches are doing the same thing. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it in a capitalistic society, but they've held this from kids for a long time. And most of these coaches are Caucasian men that are getting these $100 million deals, $90 million deals. I know Tucker got one at Michigan State. So he ended up getting I think, $95 million extension. Franklin I believe he got about $100 million extension with Penn State. So that's two guys. The rest are Caucasian men that are just cashing in the chips. I don't know how they're paying them with Bitcoin or whatever it is, but Title IX and some of these programs, they don't really fund their women programs because they say they don't have the money. But they find enough money to give white men $100 million to coach black boys. Isn't that something? Called a surrogate father. You can Google it. I'm not making it up. So Brian Kelly says he's going to love Notre Dame and love all the kids at Notre Dame, but he left for LSU. Lincoln Riley said it's one of the hardest things he did to leave Oklahoma, and all those kids that he's told their parents, I'm going to treat your child like your child's my own son, and I'm going to make sure that your child gets an education in Oklahoma. And the parents stood up and they gave him a standing ovation. What a great coach. He's going to treat my kid like it's his own child. And then when somebody offers more money, what's he going to do? He's going to take the money. On a private jet, by the way. They were already flying into Lincoln from USC to go sign him up. And maybe why they even lost the game to Bedlam, to Oklahoma State. People don't look at that. He said he wasn't going to go to LSU, but had he spent more time focused on the OU kids that he recruited, that the blood, sweat, and tears, maybe they would have beaten Oklahoma State. Just a thought. So now he leaves for USC, a program that has been pining for a championship ever since Pete Carroll left. And they may get a Pac-12 championship out of this. Lincoln Riley, of course, they're going to expand to, I believe, 12 games, the college football series, over the next couple of years. So he'll most likely get USC into a Pac-12 championship and maybe into the college playoffs that's coming up. We know that. He's going to have a lot of talent. But not knocking him, he's doing what a lot of people do. They go after the money. And they go after the money. And now for you African-American parents and white parents too, but mostly African-Americans, they're going to go into your households and tell you they're going to love your child and treat them like their own kids, like they did the schools that they just left. You can Google it. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, because they have a right to pursue capitalism. But some of these same coaches, they said that kids shouldn't have that right, and it's taken away from their desire to get an education. A free education wrapped with a CTE if you survive that. Elsewhere around the country, hiring Sonny Crombie, that good a boy, at Louisiana Tech. Washington has hired Fresno State's Kalen DeBoer. Flew him in town out of the Central Valley up into Washington. I guess the win over UCLA convinced Washington to go after him. And this is the same coach that was coaching when Fresno State was in 25th in the country. And they lost to Boise State, I think, 40-14. They also played Oregon pretty close. So he's a good coach. And he was telling the Bulldog fans, the Bulldog face with a red wave in the Valley, I'm here long term. I love Bulldog Stadium. I love the red wave. I'm going to treat you all like you're my own kids. And then they offered him more money, and he left. I guess he's a man of his words, because Washington offered it more money. David Cutcliffe era at Duke is ending after 14 years. Rod Carey is out at Temple. SMU hired Rhett Lashley, to replace Sonny Dykes, who's going to TCU, because he loves those kids so much that he's going to treat them like they're his own son. In other moves, Florida hired Billy Napier from Louisiana to replace the great Dan Mullen. Florida just played for the SEC championship last year, and they lost a close game to Alabama. A year later, he's out of there. I guess he loves those kids so much he's going to treat them like they're his own children. And all of the flack that a lot of players got when they wanted the name, image, and likeness. Now, think about this. You look at a player like, I'm not going to name any players because most of them are underclassmen, but there's a lot of players that were just beaten up about name, image, and likeness, and they're changing for more opportunities, and they should. If you think about New Mexico State replacing Doug Martin with Jerry Kill, and Washington State promoted Jake Dickert, that's good for the Cougars program. But there's a lot of things that have gone on. Akron, Tom Arth, that position is still open, the Akron Zips, Connecticut. Randy Edsel, and they have that filled with Jim Mora, former UCLA coach and TV talent. Duke, David Cutcliffe, that job is still open. Florida International University, Butch Davis, that job is open. Florida, Dan Mullen's out. Billy Napier's in out of Louisiana. Fresno State, Kellen DeBoer, that job is open at Bulldog Stadium. Georgia Southern, Chad Lunsford is out. Clay Helton, who was let go by USC, is in at Georgia Southern. Louisiana, Billy Napier is out. The job is open. Louisiana Tech, Skip Holtz. Sonny Crombie from Texas Tech, offensive coordinator. He's there. LSU, Ed Orgeron just won a national championship just a couple years ago when they beat Clemson. He's out. And then Brian Kelly is in from Notre Dame as a head coach. And the shame about what happened with Brian Kelly is the Notre Dame kid, play like a champion, touchdown Jesus. They learned over at social media. He didn't even have the guts to tell him that he was leaving. Think about that. Oh, he has such high principle, high character man. Imagine telling all of those people that believed in him and sent their children there to Notre Dame to get an education and play for him, that his word's not good. Just a fact. Notre Dame job is still open. It might be filled before the sun goes down tonight. Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley, that job is open. There's some talk that Deion Sanders may leave Jackson State to go there. Who knows? Why not Brian Bosworth? He makes those commercials for, I think it's for Dr. Pepper. Brian Bos, he could get some people to come to Oklahoma, maybe. Who knows? Bob Stoops is going to coach him right now. Former coach that won a national championship with him. Maybe they're going to offer him more money to stay there. He knows the back roads of Oklahoma and the recruiting ins and outs. Look at TCU, Gary Patterson. Sonny Dykes is in. Temple, Rod Carey's out. That job is open. There's a lot of big names and a lot of big teams that are telling their players 1 year ago that we're going to love you like your own children. And we're going to take care of you, make sure you get an education. But what happened? Some more money showed up. And there's nothing wrong with that. And they left them. Some of them found out through social media. That's how much respect they had for you. So everybody has their own opinion about why, why'd you leave? What had happened to Marsha Brady? I think she got hit on the nose. She's like, why? No, that was Tanya Harding. I won't make too much fun about that. But people want to complain about, I can't believe the players are going after more money. Professional athletes get held to a higher standard. They're saying, oh, they just left for more money. They're chasing the ring. What are these coaches chasing? They're chasing more money. And most of them are older white men. And they're going to go into the neighborhood of black families and recruit those black boys to come play for their school so they can treat you like you're their son. And they're going to love you until someone offers more money. And there's nothing wrong with that if you know that going into it. But they should just say, I'm going to be your coach unless someone pays me more, then I'm going to leave. Now, think about the Notre Dame job before I come up on the Big C pause. The new head coach, Brian Kelly, reached out to Notre Dame defensive coordinator Marcus Freeman on Monday in an effort to bring him to Baton Rouge. So what about the players at Notre Dame that looked up to Marcus Freeman? He's asking him to come to Baton Rouge. Kelly would intend to make Freeman the highest paid defensive coordinator in college football. LSU's also making a hard run at the Notre Dame offensive coordinator, Tommy Rees. Think about that. Notre Dame athletic director Jack Swarbrick said that we haven't made a decision on an interim yet, and frankly, I think that we may approach it a little bit differently. You guys think about this as you're holding kids to a higher standard, maybe trying to shame them so they don't go out and do the same thing that coaches are doing. I think it's a shame because they benefited. It's an old white man oligarchy of power, and you're seeing white family after white family flown in private jets around the country, and when they sign that multi-million-dollar contract, they send them to the neighborhoods of black kids and say, let's get the best black talent from the cities around the country and bring them into our university and tell them we're going to treat them like they're our children, and when somebody shows more money, we're going to leave. And that's been happening. It's still hard for black men to get a job in D1. There's only a few that have benefited from the gold mine, and that's a shame. It's an unspoken shame, but it's been deliberately done. Only one team is going to win a national championship every year. It doesn't matter how many coaches change. Whether it's Alabama, Clemson, or a Notre Dame, or Georgia, or a USC, only one team is going to win it. So it doesn't matter how many people change. It's just changed because more money's out there. We're going to take what's called the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. When we come back, we're going to talk about more things that are going on in the world of college football. In the words of the former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back. right, we are back from the Big C Pause, also known as the Big C Timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 18 applications, 18 podcast applications, and 4 TV applications all over the universe. Really do appreciate that. Fair and Love and War. My goodness, a lot of coaches have moved on. And just more on that, down in the SEC, Auburn offensive coordinator Mike Bobo has been let go by Auburn. And he's going to find a landing spot. Northwestern tight ends coach Bob Hefner has retired after a 43-year career, and special teams coordinator Jeff Ginick will take on tight end duties as well. And the Wildcats conduct a national search for a cornerbacks coach. When you look at SMU, University of Miami senior offensive quality control analyst Kyle Cooper and Miami offensive assistant Jonathan Brewer will follow Rhett Lashley to SMU as a person that's going to help that program down at SMU. But why would you leave? Think about it. Why would you leave Miami for SMU? Just more money, not a better prestige program. Going back 30 years ago, yeah, SMU was a better program, but not lately. They're leaving because of more cash in the pocket. Even when I look at Washington, they let go of Coach Lake, and they hired Fresno State coach Kalen DeBoer as new head coach. He's 12-6 in 2 seasons at Fresno State and had the Bulldogs playing good football this year. And then LSU, when you think about it with Brian Kelly, probably not as much of a media grab as Lincoln Riley going to USC, obviously, but still success in his own right. And so he's going to go down into the South and try to learn the back roads of the South and all the political things that you have to do to win football games down at LSU. I thought Orgeron was a good fit for that, but they didn't like what he did outside of the football stadium. Boston College head coach Jeff Heffley has agreed to a new 5-year contract through 2026. So he got a new 5-year contract to stay at the same school. I want to give that some praise. What's wrong with him staying at the same school? What's going on with that? He's 12-1-1 in 2 seasons when you think about it. Now think about this. Oklahoma, who will hire to replace Lincoln Riley. Who's a good fit? You got to think about that long and hard. Because to me, sometimes if you stay within the program, I'm thinking Stoops. I mean, he had him succeeding last time he was there. So why not give him a chance now to keep doing what he was doing and helping them win Big 12 championships? They're going to need someone who's been down the back roads as they join the SEC. When you look at Kansas, defensive line coach Kawan Drake and cornerbacks coach Chevis Jackson have been dismissed. And senior analyst Jordan Peterson has also been promoted to on-field coaching jobs. Jacksonville State, when you think about it, Jacksonville State offensive coordinator Rich Rodriguez has been expected to become the head coach at Jacksonville State. There's some people talking about that. I want to also look at Texas Tech. SMU special teams coordinator Kenny Perry will join the Tech staff as a special teams coordinator staying in the state of Texas / assistant head coach. And Baylor quality control assistant Josh Bookbinder will join as defensive backs coach. And that's some talk that people have also been talking about. They're even making these decisions as teams are getting ready for their championship weekend. Baylor's going to play Oklahoma State. So it's Gundy going to announce that he's going to leave for Oklahoma. I mean, who knows? I mean, it's all fair and love and war. People are going to do what they got to do to just figure it out. But I think for USC, what's made the biggest splash, the defensive coordinator Alex Grinch, outside receivers coach Dennis Simmons, director of operations Clark Stroud, and strength coach Bernie Wiley departed for Los Angeles with Lincoln Riley. And so he's trying to bring most of his staff from Oklahoma to USC, which I really think is going to be a touchdown for the Trojans. I really do, because he's offensive minded. And how do you attract kids to college football? You got to be offensive minded. Look at what he did at Baker Mayfield. He's playing in the NFL under Riley's system. Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, under Lincoln Riley's system. It's not that far to look and see that USC is going to be very explosive offensively. They just got to find a way to build up their defense, because you got to have a defense to stop teams too. You can't just have these 55 to 49 games or 48 to 35 games. You're going to have to win some games 42-20, 38-10. But you got to find some guys that can coach defense. You have athletes in Southern California that can do this. Think about USC head coach Lincoln Riley, have been named head coach at USC. Riley went 55-10 in 5 years at OU with 3 college football playoff appearances. So you know he's going to help the USC program, no doubt about it. Even when you think about it, they'll probably be competing for the Pac-12 championship next year. It's not going to take them a long time to do it. There's just so much talent in Southern California. You're going to figure that out really fast. Louisiana, when you think about it, Florida, Louisiana's Billy Napier has been named the next head coach at Florida. Napier will coach Louisiana in the Sun Belt Championship game and be introduced in Gainesville December 5th. Napier is 39-12 in 4 seasons at Louisiana with 4 consecutive division titles. Can he recruit Florida? That's a great place to recruit college football players. Florida is loaded, a hotbed for high school football. I don't see him having a hard time recruiting down in Florida. Georgia Tech offensive coordinator Dave Patnute, co-defensive coordinator Nathan Burton, and cornerbacks coach special teams coordinator Jeff Popovich will not return. A person with knowledge said that Georgia Tech struggled. They're in Atlanta. You have a lot of talent down in the state of Georgia. There's a lot of good football players down there. You would think Georgia Tech would be a lot better. And they're going to see if they can work for that. There's something interesting to me. UConn, the Huskies, Jim Moore, former coach at UCLA and then went into television, expected to add Maine head coach Nick Charlton, love that name, offensive coordinator, Louisiana Tech assistant John Allen, wide receivers coach, Middle Tennessee linebackers, Asiki Debati, and linebackers coach, Carolina Panthers staffer, E.J. Barthel, running backs coach, Ryan Osborne, defensive line coach, Illinois assistant, John Marinelli, and tight ends coach. I think they're going to make some steps in the right direction at UConn, known as a basketball power. So we'll see what happens with them. There's just a lot of movement that's gone on, and I would love to see, of all the opportunities out there, will there be more opportunities for African American coaches? I like what Arizona State did. Head coach Herm Edwards said he plans to return to ASU to coach next year. He's not going to retire. I think that's a solid move by Arizona State. And obviously, they've had some issues down there, but he'll fix that. He's a good PR guy for what's going on down there, as a lot of programs may have issues every now and then when it comes to media and what are they doing things the right way. I want to bring up Wake Forest, which had a good season this year, and Dave Clawson have agreed to a long-term contract extension. So let's give that some praise because someone decided to stay and sign a long-term contract extension. I know that's kind of odd for coaches to want to stay. Clawson's 49-47 overall, 8th year with the Demon Deacons, and he secured a spot with the ACC title game with a win Saturday at Boston College. Some news on the West Coast. Oregon State head coach Jonathan Smith has agreed to a 6-year contract extension. I want to give him some praise. The coach that actually has a contract and stays for the Oregon State Beavers. Led the Beavers to their first bowl game since 2013 and still alive for the Pac-12 North title entering the weekend game, but they lost that to Oregon. But they've made some strides, and you gotta appreciate that they made some strides. So it's all fair and level war. I like what Tucker, another 10-year deal with Michigan State, African-American coach. Michigan State and Coach Mel Tucker agreed to a 10-year, $95 million contract extension. And so that's a good deal for Mel Tucker, another African-American coach. Now that deal makes him the second highest paid coach in college football, only behind Alabama's Nick Saban at $9.75 million. And is Nick Saban going to be offered a job to leave and coach another place? Maybe Nick Saban goes to Oklahoma. He knows how to win in the SEC. Who knows? How can someone make anywhere near the money that Nick Saban's 7 college football championships is all fair and love and war? I just love the fact that coaches have figured it out. You know, Coach Franklin, Penn State, a man of color, gets a 10-year deal. It's all fair and love and war with Penn State. A 10-year contract. He'll earn $7.5 million every year through salary and retention bonuses, plus another $1 million annual loan for life insurance. The buyout for Franklin to leave for another job starts at $12 million, so he's going to be sitting pretty comfortable in Happy Valley, making him a Happy Valley as well. So it's all fair and love and war. I know people say I'm not looking to go anywhere. And next thing you know, they decide they're going to up and go where somebody pays them more money. But they all got a right to do that. Nothing wrong with that. Something called the Big C Calls, also known as the Big C Timeout. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the football in your neck of the woods. All right, we are back for the Big C Calls, also known as the Big C Timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 18 podcast applications all over the universe. Give that some praise. Tiger Woods made a statement that he will most likely play golf again, but not at the high level that he's been known to with 15 majors. But wish him nothing but the best coming off of that accident down in Southern California. But now he has to figure out how to stay healthy. And if he can come back, he'll come back and play periodically, plan a tour one day. Never full time is what he's saying, but just like Ben Hogan did. But he'll come out and still stay active in the world of golf. Whenever Tiger's on the course, is going to make TV ratings higher. And it gives a motivation to the younger players too. So we'll see what happens. But, I mean, obviously, I still believe that Tiger's such a competitor that he'll find his way back on the golf course. Because this is just like saying I'm going to retire and the people don't retire. But he's gonna have to look at his health first. But he's also so determined. You don't get to be one of the best golfers in the world without having his determination. So I know that Tiger Woods is going to be having a different perspective in life. I mean, look at how many things have happened in life. You just got to be happy that you're alive, been through all the things that have happened in COVID and everything else that's gone on. So I give Tiger Woods praise. And also his first responders that helped him get back on his feet is all fair in love and war. Speaking of basketball, NBA schedule, LeBron James is in safety protocol. I'm going to run down the schedule and come back and talk more about King James. I'm telling you, you have Brooklyn. They're at home, already underway, tipped off against the New York Knickerbockers. Memphis is at Toronto, 4:30 p.m. tipped off already. Golden State Warriors are at the Phoenix Suns. That's going to be a game on TNT. Tip-off starts at 7 o'clock on TNT. Detroit's at Portland, and the LA Lakers are in Northern California at the Sacramento Kings. And so that should be good basketball action on hand tonight. But the thing that happened that we all talk about, get your vaccine. Get your vaccination. And some people are still anti-vaxxers. They believe that for whatever their reason, they believe that they know more than science. And they believe that they know more than doctors. No one can make anyone do anything. But our first responders, whenever someone has a call to 911, they show up. So the NBA, they recommend boosters to further vaccinations based on COVID-19 standings, as even President Biden's talking about more things our country can do to stay safe. No talking about shutting down, but obviously it's spiking in some parts of the country as more people interact. So LeBron James, and this just happened, has entered the league's health and safety protocols with the NBA. And when you think about it, he's the biggest name in basketball. I know Steph Curry's hot, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, those guys, Kevin Durant, they all make noise. Chris Paul, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Joker made the MVP last year. Everybody has their own choice of who's going to be the best player, but LeBron James, it doesn't go any further than him. And he's also looking into maybe helping to buy part of an NBA team like Michael Jordan's done. But this was announced today. The Sacramento Kings and the Lakers announced that LeBron James has already missed 11 of the Lakers' 22 games, coming into tonight's game up at Golden One Center because of injuries and his suspension. So Lakers were the 7-4 with James this season. They're 4-7 without him. And the Kings got him in overtime in Los Angeles when they played earlier in the month, just a few days ago. If a player is confirmed positive for COVID-19, the NBA mandates a minimum of 10 days in isolation away from his team in any physical activity. After that period, the player must undergo a cardiac screening. This is serious stuff. And reconditioning in order to be cleared to return to the court. Ironically, for people that think I'm going to eat right, exercise, and take vitamins and minerals, LeBron has commercials saying he takes such great care of his body, and he does. And that's why he's able to sustain himself for so long in the league, nearly 20 years. But he's also been injured the last couple of seasons. He's human like anybody else. But he revealed on Lakers Media Day, late September, that he received the COVID-19 vaccine. And I know that he was very skeptical about it, but after doing some research and things of that nature, it felt like he would trust his science over his own research. Let me ask people, when you call 911 and the medics show up, do they ask you what you know about science? And do they ask you what you know about medicine? No. They tell you what they know about saving your life. And that's why I always like to pay a standing ovation to our first responders. They know how to save lives. Some guy doing research or Googling it doesn't understand the same thing that people who go to school understand and get medical training. So sources, NBA recommends boosters and further vaccinations based on COVID-19 studies. And findings, the NBA has completed a study with infectious disease specialists, not athletes doing in Google. Like touchdown Aaron Rodgers said he had talked to his own doctors. Maybe that's fine, but he talked to his own doctors. Don't Google. Talk to your doctors. And then Google what they tell you if that makes sense to you. But think about it. The NBA itself has completed a study with infectious disease experts, not mavens, not infectious disease Googlers, but specialists and testing manufacturers on the preseason antibody test results of over 2,300 players and staff, citing further evidence of the need for a booster doses of COVID-19 vaccines for elite personnel, according to a copy of many media sources that are out there. So the NBA study found that Moderna and Pfizer vaccines created higher levels of antibodies compared to some others, like from Johnson & Johnson, and detailed the decline of antibodies over time. The NBA wanted to understand the effectiveness of different vaccines, of what different levels of antibodies might mean, and risk of further infection. So the NBA, and this is something for everyone to understand, this is not about talking to some family member or somebody at work and they have their own Google resource. Hey, I Googled this. No, this is by specialists and experts that we all need to go to. I mean, I got a friend right now. He's in the hospital. It wasn't because of COVID. It's because of something else. But he's in the hospital, and he was just healthy 2 days ago. For whatever reason, he went to the hospital, not Google headquarters down in South Bay. So the NBA is aware of 34 cases of fully vaccinated players or team staff becoming infected with a breakthrough case of COVID-19 as of November 19th, including 31 that had been, think about it, had detectable levels of antibodies significantly lower than those observed in the remaining testing population, according to the report. 3 of the 34 infections happened with not detected antibody levels. And that's based on a study of the experts. The NBA said that 97% of the vaccination rate among its players, that's where they are. The league says that the NBA is using the findings of the report to encourage eligible players to follow previous NBA and NBA Players Association recommendations of getting a booster shot, and team doctors are expected to use those results to educate players on the importance of the additional vaccine and the protections. Now, within 2,388 people tested in the preseason, 75 produced not detected results, including 11% of those who have received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. You can Google this yourself. That percentage was considerably higher than those who received Pfizer, which is 1%, and Moderna, 0.2%. So those results, they suggest that those who received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine 2 months ago or a second dose of Pfizer or Moderna at least 6 months ago are at increased risk of breakthrough infections. So people can figure out for themselves if they should get vaccinated or not. I think it's a foregone conclusion. I mean, who cares what I think? It's your own body, do your own research. But based on what my doctors told me, that's what helped me decide to get my own vaccine. And it's no one's business what you do. It's your health, and get the best research you can. But I would just hope that people can pay attention to what's going on from doctors and experts, because those are the people who take care of us as we have issues. And they know what to do because they're doctors, they've gone to school for it, they've figured it out. And hopefully if they're making the right choices in life, that we're all going to benefit from that. So I wish everybody the best. I know LeBron James going under the COVID-19 protocol, got to be away from 10 days. And that's part of the NBA's protocol, as well as NFL, I believe, does the same thing too. When you look at the biggest game tonight, and number one, again, I want to say to all of our first responders, give all of our first responders some praise. Give them praise, because they're the ones that make sure that all of us are healthier whenever we need some type of help. Medical science is real. When I look at the game tonight, Golden State Warriors at the Phoenix Suns down in the Valley of the Suns. They're also going to play later in the week on Friday, I believe. Golden State Warriors are 18-2, winners of 7 straight, while the Suns are 17-3, and winners of an astounding 16 in a row. Must-see TV tonight. This will be the first time in NBA history that both teams enter the matchup with a winning percentage of at least 85%. And when you think about the players for Golden State, of course, it's Steph Curry. You got Andre Iguodala is going to come off the bench doing his thing. Draymond Green. These two players have been there through thick and thin, through all the Golden State, their championship runs. And I know they're going to have another run. I picked Golden State to win the NBA championship this year, even without Klay Thompson. If they get him back, it's just going to be a lot easier because they're loaded. They have they have coaching and Steve Kerr that knows what he's doing. They have the legacy of winning. They know what it's like to win. Steph Curry is going to be the MVP of the NBA this year, whether people think it's going to be a Kevin Durant. We saw Steph Curry go on the road in Brooklyn, and they gave him a standing ovation. So I really feel that Golden State, based on what they've done in their history of winning, they're going to be the team that comes out and wins another championship. It's nothing new for them. The new Chase Center, obviously, one of the best arenas in basketball. But I really look at the Golden State. Steph Curry, you got to give him a lot of credit. Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala, they have that championship pedigree. Even Kevon Looney is learning how to win, winning basketball. Jordan Poole, they just have Otto Porter Jr. They have a lot of good players. And I can't wait till Klay Thompson comes back. Andrew Wiggins also does this thing for them. And when you look at them, they just have the makeup of a team that moves the ball around. They're not a team that's selfish. They play team basketball. And when you look at what they've done over the years, they've done it by having team basketball. They move around without the ball more than any team in the NBA. And I know because I've counted it right. But I've been watching that over the years. Steph Curry's always moving around. He's always on the move, whether he has the ball or whether he's trying to assist. He's a player that gets his whole team involved. It's like really having a coach on the floor. When you look at DeAndre Ayton, he probably will get some points in the paint tonight, but he can't handle the switch-offs that Golden State creates. Devin Booker should have a good game. He's a good shooter from 3. Mikal Bridges, they'll get their points. Jay Crowder. But you also look at Chris Paul. He'll be an assist leader down there. JaVale McGee, he played for Golden State back in the day. Cameron Payne, have a decent game. But how do you pick against Golden State? Obviously, if you go with the NBA points makers, the odds makers, you look at the home team maybe getting some home cooking. If you're going to get some home cooking, then obviously you look at Phoenix having a chance to extend that winning streak. But Golden State, they've gone on the road and they've shown how solid they are. They're a very talented team, and they can adjust. And if they were to win tonight, then what's the drama for the next game coming up, I think, on Friday night at Chase Center in San Francisco? This game will probably come down to a possession or two because both teams are going to run up and down the court. They don't really like to play slow basketball. I think Steph Curry and Devin Booker might make the difference in who wins this game by hitting threes. If you're going to outshoot anybody, I think Steph Curry is going to be the guy that can outshoot anybody. That's why I love when you hear in NBA basketball, you got to hear Steph Curry for 3, obviously. And I'm going to go with Golden State to win tonight, maybe 110 to 105, 110 to 107, somewhere in there. It's just my opinion, but I like Golden State and what they've done throughout the year. NBA basketball is amazing. And for anyone that doesn't like NBA basketball, if you watch tonight's game, you're going to be in for a treat because it's how basketball should be played at the highest level by the star players. Chris Paul never won a championship, but always knocking on that door. I don't think he's going to get the championship this year because it's most likely going to go through Golden State again. They were up 2-0 last year over the defending champion now, or the reigning NBA champion Milwaukee Bucks. But I don't think they have what it takes to take out Golden State. I do see that maybe these teams will split, but if one team could win both of these games between Phoenix and also Golden State, I think most people would go with the Golden State Warriors because they're the best team in basketball as an organization over the years. I know the world loves to watch the Los Angeles Lakers. But it's not the same as Golden State. They've been doing it for a long time, and I really appreciate, at least over the last 7 years, you got to look at the Golden State Warriors as being the best team in Major League Baseball and knowing how to win. And when they win big. And even when they lost because Draymond Green was kicked out of a game against Cleveland, and everybody got hurt against the Toronto Raptors. It's all fair and level. We're wishing them all the best, nothing but the best. Are you ready for the NBA basketball? You'll see it down in the Valley of the Sun. Back in the day, there's a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. And he would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly, you sting like a bee, you rumble, young man, rumble. Ali said, with all I've got to use, how can I lose? With all these big C-burgers in my tummy, it makes me light on my feet, so I'm rumbling, always rumbling. Always rumbling with the big C-burger, makes him light on his feet. My beautiful mama always says there's never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. If you know any man, woman, or child going through that garbage, pick up the phone and ask for help, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. As we always tell you, on every Big C Sports Show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.